Manchester United have made it clear this January they'll only move in the transfer window if a summer target becomes available or if circumstances force their hand. So the big question is, could that be about to happen? There's fresh noise around a midfielder Michael Carrick knows well, and if deals in that area remain blocked, do United look to help Carrick elsewhere with links with a move for a winger? All this, plus the latest Manchester United news and transfer updates, keeping you right up to date with everything. I'm Jamie. Welcome to Man United Review. Smash that like button. Let's get into it. So I'm going to let you into a little bit of a secret to start with, right? Keep this to yourselves, though. This is, just between me and you, right? Man United are looking at midfielders. Now, there's a player that's available, or potentially available, or someone that we've been linked with anyway, that I want to go through first, and that's Joao Gomes. So Manchester United are set to compete with Atletico Madrid and Napoli for the signature of Joao Gomes. Atletico are actively pursuing Gomes. The sporting director, they believe they can lure him to La Liga with their financial power for a potential quick January deal. United could hold an advantage thanks to Gomez's own public statements expressing his deep love for the club, the fans, and the Premier League, along with his commitment to helping Wolves avoid relegation, suggesting he may prefer to stay in England. A summer transfer appears more likely and preferable for both United and the player. So the reason I brought this is from Marca, who are a big Spanish news outlet, effectively saying that because Atletico have sold Gallagher to Tottenham, they've now got money, they want to bring in a midfielder, and Joao Gomes is one of the potential midfielders that they've been linked with. However, going off of the report there, they're suggesting that maybe the player himself would want to stay in the Premier League, and United are linked with Joao Gomes. We've done countless videos where we've mentioned Gomes in the past by decent sources as well, not just the rumour and gossip sort of outlets. There is credible links, I think, with Joao Gomes. So the question is, if Atletico come in for Gomes and if United see him as one of their long-term midfield summer targets, could we bring that deal forward for the end of January? So because the narrative around signings is not going for anyone. We want to save the money and basically have a big summer, right? That's the way the narrative is regarding the January transfer window. Unless though one of our summer targets does become available, which is unlikely because we're looking at, Wharton and Anderson and Carlos Baleba. They're unlikely to become available at the end of this transfer window. Or if a club or a rival move for one of our targets, then maybe we would accelerate that deal. So there's a big question mark there to see if Joao Gomes is seen as potentially one of our summer targets, our cheaper midfield summer targets, because obviously if Wolves get relegated, he's going to be a lot cheaper than you're going to get him in January, and we know that United would like to, save as much money as they physically can. So I wouldn't be against United, or I wouldn't put it past United wanting to wait until Wolves get relegated so you could go for Joao Gomes on the cheap. But if Atletico do come in, then potentially that might force United's hands to go for him. But that's a lot of ifs, buts, and maybes. We'll just have to wait and see how it plays out because, is he actually a target of ours or not? So we'll pay attention to that one. Give us your thoughts, though, on that in the comments below. Now, there's another midfielder, though, that's been linked in a very similar circumstances, and it's Hayden Hackney. He's a player that obviously Michael Carrick knows very well from his time at Middlesbrough. This is coming from Dean Jones saying that Tottenham explore £30 million move for outstanding Championship star Michael Carrick wants at United. And then it basically says that Middlesbrough are determined not to be pressured into selling Hayden Hackney during this month's transfer window amid interest from Tottenham, while Michael Carrick is keen on a reunion at United. Hackney, 23, is undoubtedly one of Borough's best players, and his assured performances in midfield are a big reason for the club's success. He has notched 3 goals, 6 assists in 26 league appearances this term. Sources confirm Hackney has attracted significant Premier League interest. Tottenham and United are high-profile suitors monitoring his situation, while Fulham and Everton have also been linked. Goes on to say that Carrick continues to be a huge admirer of Hackney, having worked closely with the midfielder. It's no secret that United want to add to their midfield. Yeah, it is a secret. Nobody knows that. Especially with Carrick expected to switch to a 4-2-3-1 formation moving forward. Borough have a £30 million valuation on Hackney and know that he has been heavily scouted across this season, but are reluctant to sell unless that valuation is met effectively. So again, this could be another one of those potential targets whereby if he is viewed as a long-term summer target to go for, if other clubs make a move, could we see us go for someone like Hayden Hackney? And I think that would be, I do think there's a bit of lazy journalism there, linking Hackney again at a time when Carrick's just come in, because while he is a player that we have been linked with loads in the past, like we've done loads of videos on Hayden Hackney, not so much recently, but all of a sudden Carrick comes in. Now we're linked with Hayden Hackney. Hayden Hackney again feels a little bit convenient to me, that one, but we'll pay attention to it. And that could be another situation like the Gomes one, whereby they're players that we maybe want to do in the summer when they could be a little bit cheaper, or we've got more time to work on the deals and so on and so forth. But if other rivals or clubs come in for them, could it force United's hand? So we'll have to wait and see. There's still a couple of weeks left in the transfer window, but the main narrative is it doesn't feel like United are going to be doing much. Mark Ogden in the ESPN actually have just come out at the time of recording doing... saying that Manchester United won't do any business this month. They want 2 young, dynamic midfielders in the summer and won't reduce their budget by spending in January. Nottingham Forest's Elliot Anderson and Crystal Palace's Adam Wharton are 2 prime targets, but both will likely be at the World Cup with England and will have higher transfer fees. So United will have significant rivals for their signatures. So it'll be a difficult summer window. United are hoping to bring in at least one high-level midfielder in the summer with another cheaper option to supplement them. So it could be, maybe they're looking at one of either Anderson, Wharton or Baleba as the 3 main expensive Premier League experienced midfielders. You're going to have a lot to say about that in the comments below. And then a cheaper alternative like a Hayden Hackney or a Joao Gomes, as we've just mentioned, or somebody else of that particular nature as the way that they want to go forward. Personally, I still think we would maybe need another one. But, it just depends on budget and, who we're going to sell in the summer. I think Casemiro's going to go, Bruno goes, but then is Bruno a 10 now, or is he a midfielder? Like, so many question marks as well. But yeah, we're just going to need to wait and see how all that plays out. Another name that's come out, though, that's been emerged, Graham Bailey's linked us with Alex Scott again from Bournemouth, saying that, Bournemouth do want to try and keep hold of him, trying to get him on a new contract, I believe, but United, City, Villa and Newcastle have all been following him as well. So that potentially could be maybe one of the cheaper ones, although I don't know how difficult it will be to get Alex Scott out of Bournemouth. But yeah, there's all the latest. There's the daily midfield news update for you. But the frustrating, the reality is, doesn't look like we're going to do anything in the midfield area in January, which is annoying. I share your thoughts regarding that, but it is what it is. And but I would like to hope, and I've said this before as well, if you cannot get a midfielder, can we not strengthen in another area? Because Michael Carrick, I think, could do with some help, and especially with switching formations. I've said pretty much all season that I think we're missing like a Shea Lacey, for example, because I think he's been super excited when he's come off the bench. I know he got sent off, obviously, at the weekend. Don't come at me with that. But, his energy, his enthusiasm, his, unpredictability on the ball and all of that stuff, right? I think we're missing that in the squad as well. Somebody that can come off the bench, a young, tricky, pacey winger that can scare the absolute crap out of tired defenders, I think is something that we're missing. Now, there's been a report that's come out, not from the most credible source, though. I'm gonna throw that straight away at you. Suggesting that United potentially could be looking to move for a left winger this month. So this is coming from Peter O'Rourke, who writes for Footy. It works for Footy Insider. I've never particularly found Footy Insider to be that credible. So this is one where I'm going to say take with a pinch of salt. However, saying that Man United are exploring a move to sign a new left winger in this month's transfer window. Michael Carrick and the club's recruitment team, led by Jason Wilcox, are scouring the market for suitable loan options. A left winger has emerged as the priority position for the new United boss following talks with Wilcox in the wake of his arrival this week. Amram's insistence on playing the 3-4-3 system with inverted wide players means the squad was stripped bare of out-and-out wingers under his guidance. So this is what I was talking about. If we can't get a midfielder, can we pivot to maybe go for a winger? I'm not entirely convinced that by that report, though, because of the credibility of where it's coming from personally. But I have said that in my own words before. Can we not look at a defender? Can we not look at a fullback? Like, you can't tell me in the entire world on this planet right now there is not one player that we would want in the summer or in the future as one of our signings that wouldn't be available in January, that we couldn't bring in to help Michael Carrick and to help us for the rest of the season in a position that we are planning to strengthen in any way. Like, I don't know. I think there is. But going back to the story, though, I think left wing is one of those positions, because we did obviously Rashford, Sancho, Garnacho, Anthony, not so much. He was more of a right winger, wasn't he? He was more of a, let's just cut back inside and balloon it over the crossbar every time I get the ball type player. So yeah, you can see why that story, while I want to see a little bit more credibility regarding it, would make sense. Would make sense to look potentially at strengthening in that area, because we are a lot of, we're 10 heavy now if we're going to change formation to the 4-2-3-1 that Carrick sort of prefers, although it's going to feel a little bit similar with, I'm sure you've seen all the, the breakdown videos and stuff around Carrick's preferred system and philosophy and all of that stuff. It's going to look a little bit familiar going off of that. But yeah, but I don't names. Nobody mentioned in the report neither. We've been linked obviously a lot with Diamande, although that's a permanent deal, going to be expensive. He's come out recently, done an interview saying that he wants to play at Anfield and that he's a Liverpool fan effectively. Brilliant. El Mala is another one. The young lad playing in the Bundesliga is another name linked, but I've seen a report saying their CEO or somebody was saying that they wouldn't sell him for less than, it'd be more than 50 million euros if they want to sell El Mala. And again, are we going to want to do that in January? Who knows? And Jaya, like from Everton again, but Everton going to want to sell in January. So for this one, we'll treat it as plausible. I think it's a plausible story that we would be looking for potentially a winger going forward. I do think, especially in the summer, we would need one if we're going to keep with the change in shape. But again, a lot of that will depend maybe on the manager. So maybe that's why they're looking at a loan, just somebody to bring in short term to help Carrick out. We'll have to wait and see, but I'd say plausible smoke, no fire confirmed at this particular stage. But it would be nice if we could bring in somebody, like I said, to give Michael Carrick a little bit of help to get us, get us firing again and all of that for Jazzo. But give us your thoughts on that in the comments below. Now, another player that would tick the box, I think, definitely would tick the box in that particular area, a player that we have been linked with a few times as well is Yildiz. So Manchester United are reportedly interested in signing Juventus youngster Kenan Yildiz if they are to lose Bruno Fernandes, according to a report from Calcio Mercato. So Italian sources straight away. Pinch of salt material. Yildiz is quickly developing into one of the best young players in the whole of Europe, and with Juventus even describing him as among the best in the world after a year of magic. So far this season, Yildiz has provided 11 goal contributions in 18 Serie A appearances, while also contributing with 4 goals and assists in the Champions League as well. Goes on to say that according to the report, Man United are one of the sides showing an interest in signing Juventus star Yildiz. The Red Devils are looking for a potential replacement for Bruno Fernandes, who is attracting interest from Saudi Arabia, which we know about. Juventus are hoping to tie Yildiz down to a new contract in the near future in order to fend off any potential interest in their young star. And it is claimed that the signs are more positive in terms of renewal for Yildiz, who is valued at £87 million. Now, that is a player that we've been consistently linked with, Yildiz, and that would be the ideal sort of player, I think, to bring in if you're not necessarily as a Bruno, because I think he's more of a wide player, going off of the research and stuff that I've done. But I think you've got Cunha that can potentially play as the 10 if Bruno goes. You've still got Mount, you've got Manu that could potentially do a job in the 10 as well, but we are sort of deficient in that left wing role because our best left winger is on loan at Barcelona and falling out with everybody at the club and so on and so forth, and couldn't be bothered to play for the club last time I saw him put on a United shirt anyway. So but yeah, I'd want to see a bit more credibility with the Yildiz story. He's in contract negotiations from what I can gather at Juve, so I don't expect a deal to be done now. Could be negotiation tactics as well. Let's put him out there linking with United, get it put all over the news and media as a way to get a little bit more money from Juventus. That I wouldn't rule that out neither. His current contract runs till 2028 as well, but would be a decent shout. Definitely somebody that I would like at United. That's the sort of profile I would like us to go for, some young up and coming winger that's doing bits. I do think we're missing that profile at the moment. But get involved in the comments. Let me know your thoughts. Obviously, it says in that report as a potential Bruno replacement. There was a story yesterday doing the rounds that he's unhappy and wants to leave the club in the summer. Simon Stone from the BBC has said Bruno Fernandes is not planning to seek a move away from Manchester United this month. Sources with an understanding of the situation say that despite the upheaval, Bruno remains committed to the club. But he did say that he's always said that he's going to assess his situation in the summer after the World Cup. So I don't expect anything to happen to Bruno until after the World Cup as well. But I can see a situation where Bruno's, maybe thought enough's enough, unless we do get, the top manager in, somebody that can convince Bruno to stay. Who knows? We'll have to pay attention to that one, and I'll bring you any updates when they come out. So the next bit of news I've got for you is actually we are being blessed with our fantastic owners. So Sir Jim Ratcliffe is flying into Manchester to meet with Joel and Avram Glazer at Manchester United's latest executive committee meeting. United co-owners are set for face-to-face talks at Carrington to discuss the latest developments as at the club after Ruben Amorim's dismissal and Michael Carrick's appointment as interim head coach. This is coming from The Athletic, by the way, and Laurie Whitwell. The location of the summit has been moved to Manchester to avoid upheaval for United's football leadership team in this turbulent time. They're usually held in Monaco, so this is still a planned meeting. This isn't like an emergency meeting or anything like that. They have like a monthly meeting in Monaco by all accounts, all the hierarchies and the Glazers and Sir Jim to discuss the club. They're just moving this one to Manchester this time because of everything that's obviously happening with Amorim and Carrick. It says it would be the first time Joel and Avram Glazer have visited the new main building at United Training Ground, which was built at the cost of £50 million, funded by Ratcliffe's investment. The Glazers have not put a penny of their own money into renovating the club's infrastructure since completing their leverage buyout in 2005, plunging United into hundreds of £1 million worth of debt. So it's nice for them to care and be bothered and be interested in the club, being forced to come to Carrington, because had we not sacked Amorim and we not had all this upheaval, they would have just snuck off to Monaco and had this meeting and would absolutely happen. And it just shows how much they care about the club, in my opinion. The fact that they've not even bothered coming to see the new Carrington just says everything. And I'm surprised they actually know who Michael Carrick is as well. I think they're probably going to need to introduce him, even though he's played for us for 12 years or whatever it was that he was at the club for. Managed us, left and come back as well. They're probably going to need to let the Glazers know actually who Michael Carrick is as well. But it does go on to say that the meeting takes place every month, but this is one that takes added importance given the sense of turmoil at United in the wake of Amorim's sudden departure. But then it's interesting that it says the subject of United's commercial situation is also due to be discussed, with the club yet to agree on a training ground kit partner potentially worth £20 million a year and are not close to sorting a replacement for shirt sleeve sponsor, with their DXC agreement ending this summer. So when there's money on the line, of course the Glazers are going to want to come to Carrington, aren't they, and come to have chats and, see what's actually going on with the football club that they owned and have owned for 20 years and ran into the ground. So that's nice. So we are being blessed with the privilege of having the Glazer family at Carrington for their meeting as well. It'll be interesting to see what comes from that, because obviously the person that's massively under the microscope at the moment, as well as the Glazers, which they should be, and Sir Jim, which they should be, is Jason Wilcox. Interestingly, the Mark Ogden on ESPN was saying that Wilcox's role as director of football is under scrutiny following Amorim's dismissal, with many United fans believing he is too involved in coaching decisions. Supporters feel the former Man City academy chief now controls major calls at Old Trafford and must prove he can get them right. Trust is low, and it will only be rebuilt if Carrick performs well over the next 4.5 months and the managerial search runs smoothly. So I do think he is a man under significant pressure at the moment, Jason Wilcox, isn't he, with everything that's coming out in the narrative coming out in the media and stuff. But again, I'm always skeptical around, because we don't actually know what was said in that meeting, because what we do know, what I think is factual, is, Amorim and Wilcox had a meeting on the Friday before the Leeds game. It blew up, and then the decision was pretty much made there and then to sack him. But obviously we couldn't do it that close to a game. He had the Leeds game. Amorim said what he did in his press conference Monday morning. He's gone. But we don't actually know what was said and discussed in that meeting, how it was, how it was presented. We don't know if it was Wilcox, demanding to play a four at the back or just offering advice that Ruben Amorim snapped to. Like, we don't actually know. And until that comes out, we'll just have to, we can only go off of what's being put out in the media at the moment, which doesn't look good for Jason Wilcox, does it? But we don't know the actual details of that particular conversation. Like I said, it might have just been Amorim, threw his toys out his pram and cracked under the pressure and blew up, and that was the end of the relationship. Or it could be Jason Wilcox sticking his nose in where it's not wanted, and Amorim rightly defended himself and then decided to do what he did. We don't know. Until that comes out, we'll have to, that'll be interesting to see actually what when the truth comes out regarding that. But give us your thoughts on that in the comments below. Interestingly, sticking with the hierarchy, Sir Jim Ratcliffe has slashed the asking price for French football team OGC Nice, according to people with knowledge of the matter. Ratcliffe has been seeking more than €200 million for Nice, Some of the people said potential buyers have been reluctant to pay that much and the price has now come down significantly. So Bloomberg is saying that Sir Jim is definitely looking to sell Nice and has dropped the valuation of the club now as well. What that means for United, who knows? Who knows whether that's anything linked with us or whether he's just cutting ties with Nice to concentrate more on United. I don't know. I don't know the significance of that particular thing, but it is what it is, isn't it? Let's go through a little bit more exit news. So Dimarzio is still linking Roma with potentially going for Joshua Zirkzee. So Roma are not giving up on Manchester United striker Joshua Zirkzee after the arrival of Daniel Malin. Contacts continue. Roma continues the conversation with Joshua Zirkzee's representatives, and with Manchester United have blocked the player's exit after the dismissal of Ruben Amorim. The discussion will now depend on Zirkzee and new coach Michael Carrick. So Dimarzio is suggesting that the conversations between United and Roma for Zirkzee have paused with Amorim going, and it's now potentially going to be down to Michael Carrick to see whether he wants to keep him, use him, play him for the rest of the season, or if he doesn't see him as part of his plan, maybe that's still a deal that could go through at the end of the transfer window. If he doesn't go to Roma, though, there's been another report coming from the Gazzetta saying that AC Milan are reportedly potentially interested in Joshua Zirkzee as well. So again, that's a situation we'll need to potentially keep an eye on. And the final stories I'm going to go for you regarding the manager. So Fabrizio Romano has cleared up the Southgate rumours. I did say this yesterday that I personally feel that if we were going to go for Southgate, we've had countless opportunities to have a conversation with him, bring him in, and so on and so forth. But Romano said that Gareth Southgate's name is always coming around when it's about Manchester United jobs. Southgate has an excellent relationship with some people at United and Ineos. I can guarantee that if United wanted Southgate, he's available. They could get him now. United didn't proceed because at this stage, they've different priorities in the process that will lead United to pick their future managers. So at this stage, nothing concrete in Southgate, basically. So Romano confirming that there is nothing concrete in Gareth Southgate coming in, and the final manager name is Nagelsmann. So, but this is coming from Peter O'Rourke, who was involved in the left wing story. So again, it's a pinch of salt material, though. However, saying that Julian Nagelsmann is interested in taking the Manchester United job if he decides to return to club management in the summer. Nagelsmann's full focus is leading Germany in the up and coming World Cup at the moment, but he views the manager's role at Old Trafford as an attractive proposition in the future, and maybe he could be one of the exceptions to the rule as well, because by all accounts they want someone with big club experience, Premier League proven, ideally as the next manager. Maybe Nagelsmann would be somebody that they would look at, big club experience, but not got that Premier League experience, a little bit like Luis Enrique as mentioned in yesterday's video. But we'll keep an eye on all of that for you and bring you any updates if they come out. But give us your shouts on that in the comments below. Give us your thoughts on all the other topics discussed in today's video, because that's you all up to date with the latest news and transfer updates. Don't forget to smash that like button, subscribe to the channel if you're new. See you in the next one.